Okay, guys, the third thing that I want to talk to you about today, as far as fat loss goes and things that I had to stop stressing about, is carbs. And in fact, I wrote an article, if you haven't seen it, there's a link below, called What's the Best Carb for Fat Loss, a few months back that I think was very helpful. So if you have a chance, check it out. And essentially, going back to my teens again, very impressionable time, Jessica Simpson lost a lot of weight, and she was public about it. And she wrote it was in Women's Health. It was in every magazine. And she talked about how she did this zone diet and how she watched her carbs and how she really didn't eat a lot, and it was this crazy regime, if you will. And so I started wondering about it. And I was working at that Life Cafe, and I realized the oatmeal I was having in the morning, was carbs, so I should probably not have carbs the rest of the day. So I really, truly, unless I was having like a treat of brownies or a treat of pizza, I really wasn't eating any carbs after my breakfast. And I will say I was quite lethargic for a lot of afternoons in high school. But if I did decide to have carbs, I was having fruit because I was absolutely sure that bread was the devil. And what's interesting about that is I did feel better without bread because I found out 4 years later in college that I had celiacs. So there was a method to me not wanting to eat bread. I actually really did feel better without eating gluten. But I started to eat fruit for my carbs. And as I studied more and more about Jessica Simpson's diet and everything, I started learning more about what carbs are and what starches are, and I realized I was eating a lot of starchy vegetables. So even then I started to worry about that, and I was worried about how many carbs were in peas, how many carbs were in chickpeas, how many carbs were in sweet potatoes, and I started to really, really watch that. And when I got to college, I was so busy that, and dining halls were dining halls, so I only had so many options, that I was eating carbs enough. I really, truly was, especially the first 2 years of college. But in my junior year, the paleo thing became very, very popular, picking up a lot of speed, and I started reading about it and realized that I was, doing everything wrong, and there were a lot of changes to be made, and it all supported this kind of no-carb lifestyle. And I allowed myself to still have half of a banana in my shakes because I knew that it made me feel good. And I had been drinking these shakes for years. In fact, I still drink them. I had one this morning. But I was really, really careful to only have carbs come from broccoli and Brussels sprouts and the occasional potato here and there because I heard that those were like quasi-okay sweet potatoes. And then some paleo people were eating quinoa. So long story short, again, I was scared of carbs. And it wasn't until I graduated college and I was very, very busy with multiple fitness jobs and a full-time job that I started eating carbs and realizing nothing bad would happen because I was scared enough of them that Monday through Thursday at the office, no carbs. Like maybe an apple, maybe part of a banana, but for the most part, nuts, protein, egg whites, eggs, Greek yogurt, all those things, carrots, hummus, barely any hummus, and that was Monday through Thursday, and by Friday, I was so dead, I could not wait to have pizza night with my girlfriends. And I remember having an entire pizza one night at this gluten-free, dairy-free, organic place I fell in love with, and waking up the next day thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be so fat. And I felt better. I looked better. I was like, oh my God. I went and lifted, had a great training session, and little by little, I started eating at that pizza place more and more each week. And it became like a Friday night and a Tuesday night thing, or a Sunday night and a Thursday night thing. And I started to realize, okay, carbs really aren't going to hurt me. And because I was at such a deficit calorically Monday through Thursday, the extra calories I was getting from eating an entire personal pizza wasn't affecting my weight at all, but the carbs were making me feel better. And so after about 2 months of that or 3 months of that, I started really working on just making sure carbs were a part of my pretty much every day, because then the Friday night or the Tuesday night wouldn't make me feel so full all of a sudden, and it was just more of like a better energy balance. And now I'm lifting so much I couldn't do it without the carbs. But I will let you know 100% honesty, I don't count my carbs. I don't try and hit a certain gram measure. I do worry about prioritizing protein. I make sure that 40% of my diet is protein every day. But I don't, if one day comes out to be 50% carbs, great. If it comes out to be 30% carbs, awesome. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm not trying to manipulate that at this point. So if you're stressing about carbs, I urge you to kind of like let it go. As long as you're prioritizing protein in your diet, the exact gram amount of carbs is not going to make or break you as long as you have a significant amount of protein in your diet. And if you are worried about how they'll make you fat, if it's a carb you can't control, so if it's like pizza, and every time you have pizza it triggers you to eat 5 more pieces of pizza, then maybe avoiding that would be helpful for you. But carbs alone aren't going to be the reason you gain weight. The amount of calories you eat on the day, the week after week as a whole is what is going to make you gain weight. So if you're eating more than you need every day, then you're going to gain weight. And if you don't know how many calories you should be eating every day, put your email address in the box and you will get a newsletter from me, and it will have my free ebook on it. So you can figure out how many calories that you should eat a day, and I hope this is helpful, guys.